food trucks were on their way to reach the starving Palestinian children. They rushed with their kids. They will never understand why they teach their kids to do these things, but it's a topic for another day. So they rushed to physically block the life-saving aid trucks from reaching the starving Palestinian children.
They're images that have enraged and horrified Jewish settlers throwing aid destined for Gaza to the ground. This was not a one-off. For months, videos have emerged showing aid convoys for Gaza being blocked or vandalized by settlers and Israeli activists in attacks condemned by the White House.
It is a total outrage that there are people who are attacking and looting these convoys coming from Jordan, going to Gaza to deliver humanitarian assistance.
They put their bodies between the life-saving foods and the starving Palestinian children, deliberately ensuring that more Palestinian children would starve to death that night.
They're starving to death.
You know what? If they're starving to death, no single.
You know what's in your cheap protein powder? Well, here to tell us is all-natural fitness athlete Paul Spar.
All right, let's see what we got. Sucralose, artificial flavors, soy lecithin, ion charged protein blend. That's not good. Aspartame, soluble corn fiber. That's definitely not good.
Transparent Labs protein is sourced from grass-fed American cows and made with only 5 natural ingredients. So today I'm at Bill's Family Farm to show you where it comes from.
Cecil, excessive.
Get that junk off my land.
It all starts with some of the finest grass-fed beasts in America. No, not them. I mean the cows. See, most cows grow up inside of a barn and live on a steady diet of grain, corn, hormones, and antibiotics. While beauties like Bessie here roam free and bulk up on grass.
All natural. I like that.
Exactly, Paul. And most mainstream protein powders are full of artificial flavors, cheap blends, and an endless... At Transparent Labs, we maintain our natural status by not using any
Awful bread should go there.
And if you were wondering why would anybody do such a horrible thing, it's because what they want, the reason they've been killing Palestinians since 1948 is... I'm gonna let them speak for themselves.
These are the settlers in waiting, keen to start a new life, to annex Gaza for Israel. But what are the Palestinians who live in Gaza now?
I just think we need to kill them, every one of them, and that's it. And if not that, because the country will not let that happen, the government. Just, the least we can do is just kick them.
You're right. They don't hide their intentions anymore. Professor Finkelstein is absolutely correct. Israel is a lunatic state representing an unhinged society. A society just like this girl are disappointed that the Israeli government hasn't managed to exterminate all the 7 million Palestinians
We need to kill them, every one of them, and that's it.
living on their land in Palestine. Now, is it just me, or is this the same Nazi ideology we've been taught to hate and despise? So why is Nazism when it's practiced by Israel? Why is it excused and not called out when it's called for by Israelis? What am I missing here? And for those who's gonna say, nah man, this is just the fringe opinion and it does not represent the Israeli society as a whole, I really wish you were right. I really do. But you're absolutely wrong. And here's why. When the whole world was marching and protesting the Holocaust in Gaza, Tel Aviv University conducted a poll asking the Israeli society if they thought the Israeli government was doing
Would you like to
too
purchase
much
something?
killing in Gaza. They euphemistically described it as too much firepower. So if Israel was using too much firepower in Gaza. And here's
Very
what they
good.
found. Almost 60% of Israelis believed that the military was using too little firepower, not enough killing. 36.6 believed the level of killing was appropriate, and only 1.8%, 1% thought it was too much killing. Imagine, 99% of the Israeli society thinks that the collective punishment, the genocide, the killing and maiming of hundreds of thousands of innocent people, most of whom are women and children, was either not enough or appropriate. And that leads me to which is not about comparing how Germany and Israeli societies reacted to the genocides of their states, because at this point, there is no comparison to be drawn. That question has already been answered. What I've been wrestling with, however, is something more disturbing and more unsettling. And that is, on a purely moral level, who is more evil? Who embodies the darkest and purest form of evil? Is it the Israeli political and military machine, the one who triumphed for genocide? Or is it the Israeli society that didn't just cheer from the sidelines, didn't just found joy and excitement and entertainment in watching the worst crime possible against humanity? Genocide. But went out of its way to find
Need
practical
more rage.
means to physically
Not enough
participate in the extermination
Need
of
more
the
rage.
innocent occupied
Not enough rage.
Palestinian people. I'm really interested in your take on this.
Not ready
You're
yet.
reading through the comment section to see what you think about this topic. And before we go, let's answer the opening question. The American president who told Israel's prime minister that Israel is committing the Holocaust was President Ronald Reagan 41 years before October 7th, 2023. On the morning of August 12th, 1982, President Reagan received intelligence that the Israeli army in Lebanon was once again doing what it does best, killing women and children. Without hesitation, the president picked up the phone and called the Israeli Prime Minister Begin, demanding an immediate halt to the massacre. In no uncertain terms, he said, "Enough. This is a Holocaust." Later on, President Reagan wrote in his diaries that he used the word Holocaust deliberately, accurately describing what was happening. He reflected that the defining image of that Israeli massacre in Lebanon would be a 7-month-old baby with its arm. His story is for those who think history began on October 7th. Thank you for watching.
Effective, healthy blood pressure support takes more than innovation. It takes vision. At Human, our plant-based supplements are scientifically formulated to support the center of your health. And at the center of Super Beats Heart Powder, groundbreaking nitric oxide science, supporting your healthy blood pressure, circulation, and blood flow. With refreshing black cherry flavor at home or on the go, supporting your heart health and all the moments your heart beats for. Get started today at livehuman.com.
Also sent me their to-go craft canned lattes. It's called Storytime Cold Brew Latte. It's made with pure cold brew and a touch of whole milk. Try it, shall we? Oh my gosh, you guys, that's delicious. I love the rich taste of cold brew mixed with the whole milk. It's so creamy. It tastes like a s'mores too. I'm actually obsessed with this. I love how convenient this is. I can just take this with me when I'm on the go.
That stuff really is. No way. Really?
Comparing an entire people based on their ethnicity from where they live. That to me is a form of genocide.
It's too far away.
The Israelis, including the highest levels of the Israeli government, they just speak out of both sides of their mouth the whole time. And it's like, which argument are we even taking on?
Disgusting situation that we are now left with. The fact that people like the two of you will continue to put out this false information to perpetuate this conflict.
I didn't think anyone could be more disingenuous than the UK ambassador. I gotta say, Natasha, you've gone right up.
Too far away.
The United States all this aid has suspended its arms sales. Israel's war collapse would end very quickly. It's one of the reasons why debates matter. The collapse in public support is usually a big part of how wars come to an end.
I'm out of range.
Used to be said
That ability.
it's a great success in Israel's
Can't do that yet. That ability isn't good. Can't do that. Need more rage.
Israel now say it's intolerable, unacceptable, wholly disproportionate. Debate has moved a long way beyond Israel's right to defend itself. It's increasingly centered on whether it's committing war crimes, whether the United States should wield its influence and power to make it stop. And in the court of public opinion, it's as much about morality and humanity as it is about legal expertise. Well, my next two guests have been hugely influential advocates for either side. Dave Smith is a libertarian commentator and a comedian, the host of the podcast. Tasha Hausdorff is a barrister, international lawyer, and a passionate supporter of Israel. Welcome you both to Uncensored. Dave Smith, finally lost it really with any attempt to try and defend what Israel was doing. Having been a pretty steadfast defender of his right to defend himself from what happened on October the 7th, but when you launch a blockade for 3 months and an already utterly tormented civilian
Of the depths, wash over our enemies. That's a kind of death.
I need to get closer.
I don't have any targeting Hamas solely. Everything around Hamas is collateral
It's too
damage.
far away. Can't do that. I'm out of range.
This leader is better than
To clarify, I would say this. I don't want to join a side. I had a lot of people from the Middle East last week, by chance. A lot of people come up to me going, thank you for switching sides.
Take on, minions. Rise from
That ability isn't ready. It's too far away. Can't do that yet. I'm out of range. That ability isn't ready yet. That ability isn't ready. I can't do that. Not ready.
destroy these intruders. Leave them to beyond.
Can't do that yet. Not ready. I'm out of range. I need a target. It's too far away. I need to get closer. That ability isn't ready yet. Can't do that. That ability isn't ready. Not ready.
in a sense that are going on. There's the actual, in which case Israel's done phenomenally well over the last couple years. I mean, Israel still has the support of the most powerful governments in the world, damn near
Forgot about
unconditionally,
that.
if not purely unconditionally. They've been very successful in terms of taking out Hezbollah leaders. They've been very successful in terms of destroying the Gaza Strip.
Let's
They've been
go,
successful
go.
in getting the regime change that they've wanted for many years in Syria.
God, Warrior's so fun.
Especially amongst young people. In the future, I don't believe Israel will ever be viewed the same as it was by my parents' generation. And so, what does that mean?
Hopefully we get lucky and we get the sacks, babe. We get the sacks, big damn. Big dick damn.
We will see where all of this goes, but it is a very dangerous situation, and it is certainly profound to the degree that it has changed the Israel on the
I guess I go buy that. I didn't fucking know that that was better. No. This way.
People like me have come to the place we've come to in this debate. You know, I've been harangued by pro-Palestinians for a long time for being too supportive of Israel's right to defend itself.
Why?
Abused, mocked, threatened, all of the things that come with that in a war. But I just felt I couldn't do anything else to speak out. Against the people already suffering. I'm not talking about innocent civilians.
I'm out of range.
Fearless assistance, I assume.
After the horrors of October the 7th, I'm now beginning
You may yet regret your presence here.
I don't have a
As I purify these waters, the servants of filth will surely be still.
It's too far away.
Beware.
I need to get closer. That ability isn't ready. I can't do that. I can't do that.
Doesn't meet the exact legal criteria of the word genocide. But if you're clearing out an entire people,
So hot, babe. Did you eat that food out there that I got for you?
It's too far away.
Patience. The waters are nearly cleansed.
Not ready.
What is a large public discussion focused on the candidates, of course, because of the abuse, the haranguing, the mockery, and the threats and the intimidation that so many people are falling into the easy line.
well, that's not why I'm changing. Long before this war, so I get it on pretty much any debate I ever have. It's fine. I'm a big boy. Please don't misconstrue anything that I
can't
have
do
done.
that. I can't do that.
Because that would be ridiculous.
Has it been clear that this is because of the change in the narrative around this? And I hope
The
you'll have the
beast has
opportunity
returned.
allow me
It must
to
not
address
pollute
some of this
my
misinformation,
waters.
and there is a great deal of it. It starts
Phase
with
2.
this notion
That can't do that. That ability isn't ready yet. Not ready yet. I can't do that. That ability isn't ready yet. Not ready.
The
That
essence
ability
is
not ready yet.
between 5 to 6 months.
I'm out of range.
Some estimates are
My waters are cleansed.
I can't do
Drink
that.
in their power.
Not ready yet. That ability isn't ready yet. I can't do that.
Behold the power of pure water.
Not ready.
that there is no
Need
starvation, but there has been facilitated over the course of
But that is simply not true. I'm sorry.
Well-
No, hang on. If you ever felt like you're being watched online, it's unfortunate because you are. Hundreds of companies,
So, wait a
so-called
minute.
data brokers, watch and record everything you do on the internet. Even if you're using incognito mode or private tabs, they can still access every purchase you make.
Am I still
every
trying to
search
sell
you
that?
type, and much more. Your data can be sold to advertisers, government agencies, or insurance
Oh, did someone buy it?
who could use it to charge you more. You could stand by and accept all of this, or you could reclaim it, as I have done for many years.
Oh, they're so cheap.
The app redirects 100% of your online traffic through secure servers.
That's so
No data
weird.
brokers and no third parties can see what you do. ExpressVPN also hides your IP address, without which there is no way of tracking you and no point invading your privacy in the first place. A new feature called ID Defender is free to all US customers. ID Defender scours the internet to remove your information from the files of data brokers. This is the #1 rated VPN by experts at CNET, PC World, and The Verge. And right now, you can get an extra 4 months of ExpressVPN
Justice
for
points.
free. To scan the QR code you're showing on the screen, we'll go to expressvpn.com/peers to get 4 extra months for free. That's expressvpn.com/peers. That's
Savage Club, bro.
when Israel and the Israeli government, let me phrase that correctly, when the Israeli government ordered 3 months ago a blockade of food and aid going into Gaza, that is a deliberate state-sponsored form of starving a population.
No, it's just not, because it
That's
was
exactly what happened. That's why they look like they're starving. That's why they're risking death
Yes, you've asked me
to
on
get
here.
to scrabbling bits of food.
Forgive me. You've asked me on here to answer these questions.
I can challenge you.
And I just explained that blockade, which was imposed in order to prevent Hamas continuing to fuel this war machine by selling additional aid, that it was diverting. And we'll come on to the way that diversion is going to be prevented in the future, I hope. But the fact of the matter is that this blockade was instituted in the context of there being 5 to 6 months, maybe even 8 months of aid that was facilitated into the Gaza Strip. And throughout, if you'll allow me to finish, throughout the war, the volume of aid that Israel has facilitated
Savage
into Gaza,
Cloak.
this has not been reported by the international media, but it is available, publicly available information published by COGAT, over 1,700,000 tons of aid which has been facilitated into the Gaza Strip, which is more than required for the civilian population. The study that was conducted.
Why are they so hungry then?
The study that was conducted.
Why are they so hungry?
May I finish this point and I'll come on to answer your
Why are
question.
they so hungry?
Well,
Why are they stampeding over each other,
We're not
risking death to get at scraps of food? I don't understand. If they're all so well nourished and Israel's behaved so impeccably properly in terms of supplying enough food for months on end, why do they all look like they're starving to death and are prepared to risk actually dying to get at food?
What you are basing your assessment on, I'm afraid,
It's what I'm seeing with my own eyes.
is Hamas propaganda, which you must accept as the
No, it's actually footage. I'm watching news footage of thousands of people fighting with each other to get at food. Some of whom ended up dying. Some of whom ended up being shot. The IDF says it wasn't them and it was Hamas. We don't know who did it because, as you know, the Israeli government has banned all international journalists from being anywhere near this to verify what is actually happening.
Piers Morgan, you're not allowing me to answer a single question.
I am,
No,
and then when you say something
the
that
fact
I don't agree with, I'm challenging.
I'm sure I'm going to say a lot that you don't agree with because unfortunately your assessment is being based on misinformation, like these false reports we've had today of Israel shooting 31 Palestinians attempting to get to food. That was run, and Ambassador Mike Hubbard
Making a special purchase?
this resoundingly in a statement just now. That was
Alright, then.
in the context of the Associated Press, CNN, many media outlets.
Hi, how are
and
you?
it's entirely false because it is, as has been the case previously, Hamas.
The Israeli government says it
Very well
It's not just the Israeli
Sorry to
government.
jump in again.
No, it's also the Gaza humanitarian.
Israel has some one of its own reports because journalists aren't allowed to verify this independently. So Israel investigates itself and has decided it did nothing wrong.
Referring to Israel's investigation.
Hang on. What we do know is that a number of doctors and hospital spokesmen and charity spokesmen have all said that there were many people killed and many more people wounded taken to hospitals, and they saw the bodies and they saw the wounded. So somebody was killing and wounding a lot of Palestinians. You say it was Hamas. Hamas say it was the IDF. We, the international media, cannot verify because Israel doesn't allow us in.
Has been conducted on such a false basis. It's because nothing coming out of the Gaza Strip the international media peers will know this. It is
Historically, Israel has accepted that the health authorities know this. Historically, before October the 7th, that they have been broadly active. That is historical position.
You must also know that the assessments of Hamas casualties by experts and statisticians found them to be preposterously inaccurate, fabricated.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you what else.
No, you're not allowed to finish a sentence. The figures aren't going to to get any benefits.
If viewers can make their own mind up about what they're doing. When I interviewed the UK ambassador to the UK, she was able to tell me the dignity of 30,000 mass terrorists being killed. When she had how many children would be killed in the process.
There's a very simple logical explanation for that, which is that Israel is targeting Hamas and Palestine. There is very simple explanation that we've spoken to
Credibility
because
isn't ready.
Hamas
You only count the terrorists who killed not the children.
They can't do that yet.
Are you saying that the idea only counts the bodies of terrorists who killed, not innocent children?
The idea has not been, and this is a shift now, as we will have heard from Jonathan Rodriguez, has not been in control of any significant part of Gaza to be able to conduct that analysis.
So how's it terrorists killed?
Because it is striking. Targeting those rights.
Because they're thinking, what on earth are these Israelis saying? First the ambassador, now you. What you're saying is that you only count the terrorists that are killed. You don't kill.
I need to get close.
I got jaded in my early 20s.
Oh my god, we are destroying.
You were told. Decades of ethic research and
It's
understanding
too far away.
access processing. I think the question was, how do we make food that's fresh, healthy, and convenient? That was like a tough challenge. So we thought we really need to get somebody who knows dog nutrition.
We have watched the seminar.
Why?
If you'll allow me to answer the question, I'll provide you some analysis, which is in relation to the character of the
I can't drink any more yet.
generally put at between 1 to 1 and 1.5 to 1. I'll explain. Since then,
I need to
the
get
phase
closer.
is a very different type of fighting that we're now seeing. There are some estimates that they have gone up to 2 to 1. Very simply, that Israel has been able to establish
Dave, I'm told I'm lacking logic here. Is there anything logical about
Heretics! You will suffer for this interruption.
I can't do that.
unless you're self-employed or if you're a business owner. Network USA specializes in video financial. And surprise levies before they escalate. Call 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/bids. That's I'm just looking for something protein. Clean. King, so waste time on clean.
Too far away. I can't do that. I can't do that.
This advice these days has gotten a little weird. This is Transparent Labs. It's just clean, all natural protein. Right from the source. Look, it's hard to get all foods in the world. Transparent Labs is a clean, easy way to hit your protein goals. Each scoop delivers
Far away.
Transparent Labs. Protein without the weird stuff.
It takes vision. A human or plant-based supplements are scientifically formulated to
not the IRS.
I need to get closer.
But I think one of the things that Minister is openly talking get into Gaza for this 3-month period that you're referring to. People say, hey, look, they can't do just common sense and a basic understanding of logic could tell you that none of these defenses make any sense. And instead, I think it's reasonable for us to say that we're going to judge the Israeli.
No, nothing's wrong with the food, Mom. I was wondering why the food was still sitting on the counter. She's coming. She's gonna have to reheat it, but.
media today for people to communicate in a non-controlled environment. Good freaking luck, man. This is gonna end up so understand why they would choose to do this.
Yeah, I mean, Natasha, my point being, my argument then was not with the people of the United Kingdom. My argument was with the government of the United Kingdom making a decision which I felt was illegal. Crimes, and it turned out to be a unmitigated disaster that led to 20 more years of mayhem in the Middle East, including the rise of itself so staunchly that I cannot defend what is happening now. What is happening now is militarily inexplicable to most people I've spoken to in the military. I've a lot of my family. Nobody understands what Israel's goal is here, other than flattening Gaza and kicking off. Well, as Smotrich has said, it is to take over and clear out Gaza of all the Palestinians. That is genocide, isn't it? Unless you're a lawyer, you tell me.
Israel's war aims have been clear from the outset, which is the destruction of Hamas and the return of the hostages. Well, because the war's on.
Those things. All you're doing is killing more and more civilians, and you've been starving them.
Well, for who's you? Forgive me. I'm here as a lawyer.
You're here to defend it, right?
No, I'm here to defend the rule of law and the weaponization of international law, which has been consistent throughout this process. The propaganda that we're discussing right now, which is clearly what has shifted your position and perspective, deeply dangerous. Calling Israel.
Hey, what's up? Are you sleep deprived? Try the narcolepsy challenge on Ascension Custom WoW. One life hardcore mode. You have a fatigue bar because you were out all night trying to recapture your lost youth. Now you're really tired. And third, brain strain because you'd rather be at home and sleep. Level up when you're this tired. I don't know, but you may as well try. Your fatigue bar is 0. Fall asleep immediately. Now I've been informed that that's called dying.
Oh, they changed it.
Race the all-nighter worth it, right? Step into rested areas like inns to take a small nap. Refresh your fatigue bar before adventuring again. Experience what it's like to be an adult with a 9 to 5. A hardcore
Oh, we can't. Dude, I'm an asshole. They changed that.
A committer of genocide will send to starving children.
People are alleging that Israel's committing war crimes and two former Israeli prime
They
ministers.
have their own political agendas, and let's be clear.
Two former prime ministers of the country have said that you are committing as a government,
Off
not
and
you,
away.
but the government is committing war crimes, and you dismiss it as just a bit of internal politics.
No, it's a very serious matter that the misinformation that I would like to be able to come on to address is now also being propagated by two very sore individuals. Prime Minister Olmert, because he also served a prison sentence and has had his entire proposed peace framework, that of essentially creating a Palestinian state in East Jerusalem and the West Bank, turned upside down by the realization, and he hasn't had, unfortunately, the temerity after 7 years to recognize the risk that he would have put Israel to in light of the Hamas takeover.
What you see, as we saw, when you see, Natasha,
I was answering the previous question.
okay, let me just, on the
This is
point,
productive.
on the
Good
point
debut.
of legality, actually it's very productive. On the point of legality, Only last week, the
Very
Israeli
good.
government announced new settlements, 22 settlements.
Well, no, shall we pause?
Well, hang on.
Yes.
On the West Bank, 22 settlements, which
Yes.
the international community views as illegal. They announced 22 new settlements. As a lawyer, given your adherence to the point of law, presumably you would condemn that.
Well, this is exactly why we need to be clear about how international law applies and why the notion of these so-called illegal settlements is a misnomer.
think they are?
It's not a legal term, it's a political term, and it is part and parcel of a misapplication of international law to the status of the territory. These blood libels, occupation, ethnic cleansing,
Wow, so you
colonialism,
think the settlements are not
apartheid,
illegal?
and genocide are all part and parcel of the propaganda, which I would like to be able to come on to, because all of the evidence goes completely the opposite direction in terms of Israel's compliance with the laws of armed conflict and its in the amount of steps that Israel takes, unprecedented in the history of armed conflict, and military
Actually, that's just a load of bullshit. I'm sorry, it just is.
Which other army
It just
sends
is.
war
Which other war in recent times where you had half the population is under 18 and you killed 20,000 kids?
Those figures are Hamas figures. You are constantly.
Give me an example of where this morality has been played out elsewhere.
I was explaining earlier that the Hamas figures are inflated, that there are internal
How convenient for
inconsistencies.
you. You don't know what the figures are, so how do you know?
That there are, because there have been independent
How do you know how many figures that infected are otherwise? You don't know how many have been
Because we
killed.
know Hamas lies. It is an internationally prescribed terrorist organisation.
Some might think you're lying because you say on one hand, I don't know how many children have been killed, but on the other hand, and that's a blood libel if you say we've killed any of them, but on the other hand,
That's not what I said. No.
but on the other hand, you know all about the ratios and you know how humane
Would you like
the
to
Israeli
understand
forces
why?
are being, but you don't know how many they're killing.
Because even on Hamas figures, which we know to be false, which do not make distinctions
You
between
don't know
civilians
they're
and
false.
We do, because there
How
have
do you
been-
know they're false? You don't know how many killed.
Because Hamas has even itself revised those figures down and acknowledged that they are false. And the UN is still touting.
So how many
false
children
figures
has Israel
on that.
killed?
If we go back to the
Well, can you
question,
answer my question?
if you go back to the ratio,
you know my-
no, but I can tell you the ratio even on the basis of Hamas figures.
You can tell me the ratio without, well, how do you know if you don't know how many
I can
have
tell you the
died?
ratio even on the basis of the false Hamas
You've no
figures.
idea how many have been killed, but you can't tell me the ratio.
I can tell you the ratio.
You're a smart lawyer.
on-
Do you not understand how ridiculous
Are
that
you
sounds?
listening to
If
my
we were in a
answer?
courtroom now,
I can
you
tell
would
you-
be demolished by a fellow lawyer. And they would say, what are you talking
Well,
about?
Piers, this is not how courtroom etiquette is conducted, I'm afraid. I would be
Actually,
permitted
some
to
of my
finish.
favourite lawyers conduct something exactly like
I
this.
would be permitted to finish a sentence. The reason we can say that the ratio before the ceasefire was 1-to-1 or 1.1 is on the basis even of Hamas figures.
1-to-1 or
despite
5-to-1? Which one was it?
1-to-1 to 1.5-to-1. At different points in that period, those were the two separate estimates.
Talk about
Honored, I'm sure. Alright, then.
Studies show that strength training, both fat and cardio alone, is critical for maintaining muscle mass and bone density as you age. Jacked Up Fitness has the perfect tool. The Jacked Up Power Rack Pro is the ultimate all-in-one home gym system for a full body workout. Do it in a spare room or garage. I'm glad to say I now have one myself. So if you're new to strength training, there is a whole library of full body video workouts. Press play and you follow along. Top quality equipment and first class content, Jacked Up Fitness makes your fitness goals accessible and convenient. We've teamed up to give you 10% off the Power Rack Pro. Visit getjackedup.com to sign up for the free program and use promo code PIERS, P-I-E-R-S, for your discount. That's getjackedup.com.
And that is on
But
the
to know
basis
that, you have to know how many innocent people
that is on the basis of the false Hamas figures. So the reality is that the expectation would be the ratio of
You don't
I
believe
know
that,
it.
so what is the number?
The reality is that the expectation would be the numbers are even less than that. That, in any event, is unprecedented in the history of urban armed conflict. So it puts the lie to all of these accusations that we have been hearing. And the reason, let me finish this sentence, if you will. The reason that it is so terrible
that it is so dangerous that these lies are being spread about Israel that even you and other respected international journalists have begun to propagate them, is that
It's
it
too
is
far
having
away.
a direct impact. No, that you have been taken in by them. Is because it is having a direct impact on the safety of Jews around the world. We've seen the impact of 14,000 babies in 48 hours when 2 Israeli staffers were murdered, executed on the streets of DC. Only yesterday we saw a fire.
What was the link? What was the link there? Are you saying
The
that
fact that 2 days after
are you saying the person that perpetrated that appalling murder was actually even aware of the story you're talking about? You're drawing a direct link.
the Chicagoan that committed that murder shouted "Free Palestine" for Gaza.
You mentioned something about 48,000
Two days after that full story went around the
It
world.
was a full story because the idiot that came out with it should have known better. I didn't promote that in any way at all, other than to say.
But you are promoting false allegations to the starvation.
I'm out of range.
No, I'm promoting the fact that Israel's government launched a 3-month blockade, which has led
Without
to
context
people
of
starving.
25,000 tons of trucks of aid
I need to get
being
closer.
provided before that.
Dave.
That's without context. Are misleading.
All right, Dave. We're a bunch of deluded clowns who are being misled. Israel's government is telling the whole truth here. Everyone else is lying or being, taken in by lies.
Yeah, it's just like, look,
And we're putting Jews in danger by promoting these lies. You're a Jewish guy.
Yes, I am, and maybe I'll respond to that. Well, first of all, I'll just say that even the idea, like, as you hear these arguments, Pierce, where they'll say, like, well, we know these numbers that the Gaza Health Ministry puts out are lies because we know Hamas lies. And look, the proof of that is that they revised their numbers down at one point. But doesn't that just kind of lead to the question, Pierce? Then, like, why would they revise their numbers down?
Why wouldn't they double it?
Why would? Like, what? Yeah, right. It always happens with the pro-Israel people is like they use what is a point on my side as a point on their side.
By the way, I wouldn't trust Hamas as far as I could bloody throw them. Right? They're a bunch of despicable death cult murderers, right? Just to be crystal clear. I wouldn't trust them as far as I could throw them. And yet, historically, their figures through this health authority in this conflict going back decades have turned out to be reasonably accurate. I know that because Israel has accepted them over the years.
And Pierce, as you know, because I've been coming on your show for a long time now, I've always said the same thing too. I also don't really trust the Gaza Health Ministry. I'm just making the point that them revising the numbers down would be a point of evidence that they're being honest, not a point of evidence that you can't trust them. But look, I will just say this, okay? And Pierce, again, because I've been coming on your show, I've done a lot of these debates that, over the last year and a half or so. I would never, like, if you remember, there was this example of the guy in Florida who is being charged with attempted murder right now because he shot 2 people who he thought were Palestinians. Turned out they weren't. He was wrong. But I would never use that as an example.
I need to get closer.
The reason why Pierce and so many people around the world are turning on what the Israeli government is doing is because it's just
charge protein blend.
I don't have a target. Not ready. Can't do that. That ability isn't ready. I can't do that.
Target you.
I like that.
Not ready yet. That ability isn't ready yet.
Sweeteners, guys.
I can't do that yet. I don't have a target. Not ready yet. I'm out of range. I can't do that. That ability isn't ready. Go away. Not ready.
Target you.
That ability isn't ready. I can't do that yet.
We're talking about the International Criminal Court.
Would you be prepared to defend him?
No, well, let me be clear.
That ability isn't ready yet.
The International Criminal Court, which has no
I can't do
jurisdiction
that. That ability isn't ready.
clearly supposedly by the Palestinian Authority, which was never circulated. That was one of the primary planks
I'm out of range.
in 2021.
That ability. That ability
So my
isn't ready
organisation
yet.
became a
I can't do that yet. I can't do that. Not ready. Not ready. That ability isn't ready.
See anywhere. What I am calling out are the lies and the falsehoods and the blood libels that have been propagated. And those
I was told by the ambassador to UK it was a plan for me to suggest that Israel had killed children.
Children. There is a difference.
Right.
Because we are hearing that Israel is targeting children, and that couldn't be further from
Well,
the
last
fact.
week, 9 out of 10 on home where 2 doctors reside were killed in an airstrike.
Well,
What
is
was that?
remarkable.
Well, what was that?
That has been based only
Not
on the
ready.
basis of hearsay.
Run away. 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 Run away.
Somebody, you talk about blood libel, like Dave said, you talk about blood libel, you talk about lies, you talk about promoting propaganda, and then you sit here as a lawyer and you say that you do not believe those 9 children were
I
killed.
didn't say that. You're putting words in my mouth.
Do you believe it or
I
not?
said that there were conflicting
Do you believe
accounts
it?
and it needs to be
Do you
investigated.
believe it?
I thought you would be
The parents said 9 of their 10 children were killed. Do you believe it or not?
they
Or did
haven't
those 2
said that
doctors make it up?
They haven't said that directly as far as I have seen. I have seen second-hand accounts and hearsay, but it's important to ask, why are these civilians still there? Why is it that
Actually, that's important to us whether you believe that family. propaganda. It's not true. I've heard it's not right. I've heard it didn't.
Can't do that yet. Not ready yet. Not enough room. I can't do that. Get closer. That ability
None may pass into the world's heart. Break yourselves upon my body. Feel the strength of the earth.
can't do that. Not ready.
Break yourselves upon my body. Feel the strength of the earth. The cycle is complete.
Including the fact that when we were in Rafa, every second building was being used.
Break yourselves upon my body. Feel the strength of the earth.
Which didn't involve seeing the bodies of dead children.
We were very restricted because of the nature of the battlefield in
What plans do you have to restrict journalists doing their job? In every other war I've ever been involved in, including sending my Daily Mirror journalist to cover the Iraq war in before shock and awe arrived.
That ability
to the wider world. Israel has decided no journalists from outside can go in.
For 3 reasons.
And made that assessment themselves.
Yes.
What right does Israel have to do that?
For 3 reasons. You allow me to finish.
There are no reasons. Well, that's none of your business as a
The world will be reborn in flames!
ready yet. I need to get closer.
Witness the power bestowed upon me by Deathwing. Feel
Our mutual friend Douglas Fine was embedded with the IDF.
I need to get closer.
You said the words yourself. I love Douglas, but he was embedded with the idea. He's unbelievably pro-Israel.
Let me finish.
So of course he was going to write.
It's too far away.
Finish what experiences there were.
Out of range.
No, this is something I think you quoted her. The IDF.
For my death, countless more will fall.
Very
The burden is now yours to bear.
The IDF in tightly controlled environments to witness what the IDF were prepared to let them do.
And you know what
And
those
what it
journalists
needs
said?
is for stop the bullshit, which is out of control, by the way, this last 3 minutes, is to let international journalists go in and do their jobs. And they will worry with their networks, organizations, about their safety, but they should be allowed to do their jobs. And there's only one reason why the Israeli government doesn't want international journalists crawling all over Gaza. It's because they do not want them reporting what they will find.
Reason
Which,
number
by the way, will include the bodies of thousands of children who you on the Israeli side are not counting as you count the terrorists you kill, but who journalists would.
Reason number 3 is that those journalists that were in Lebanon said that they had to be very careful about what they reported because of what Hezbollah would do to their colleagues in Beirut. The fact that international journalists have sunk to this level, that they would allow their reportage to be controlled by terrorist organizations, Iranian proxies, Hamas, Hezbollah included, is despicable. That is the real issue here that has driven
Actually,
the
it's not.
international...
The real issue is
This is terrorist organizations propaganda.
Actually, it's not. Let me bring David. Let me
The
bring
fact
David.
that you will not allow me to answer a single
It's still recharging. I can't drink any more yet.
Bullshit. So let me bring in Dave. Dave, look, I don't like to keep saying the word bullshit, but when you hear a lot of bullshit, you have to call it for what it is, bullshit. And the truth is, particularly on the journalist front, there is a very simple way that all this fog of war confusion could be resolved, and that is to let the journalists in. And there's a very simple reason why they're not. They don't want the journalists to report to the world
Light
what
be
is
with you.
actually going on. Otherwise, they'd let them in.
Light bless you.
I mean, listen, I understand, Natasha, that you're upset that Pierce isn't letting you finish your thought, but the idea that the number
It's too
one
far
reason
away.
you gave is that look, Israel just values the sanctity of life so much that they're so worried about these journalists. It's
I
just
supply
so
only the
ridiculous.
finest
It's
goods.
basic smell test. It's offensive to think that level, you talk about propaganda being spread, that is just pure
Safe travel.
Looking for something specific?
Obviously, the reason
Who's going to be blamed? Sorry, Natasha just said, who will be blamed for the journalist deaths?
This is Whiteout Survival.
Farewell.
It's the most popular strategy game
Help.
of 2024. In this free game, you have to survive the icy wasteland by gathering resources, upgrading your base, and saving other survivors. Think you can survive? Download Whiteout Survival for free today. Hey you, do you like helping NPCs? Try Champion of the People, a new hardcore challenge on Ascension WoW. Only get EXP from completing quests, no EXP from killing monsters, no EXP from dungeons. Why would you do this? I don't know. You must really want millions worth sweet, fat, juicy grapes. You only get one life. Die and make Hillary sad you'll never get her stupid pocket back. Win by making it to 60 and get endgame loot that makes your struggle totally worth it on some hardcore trials on Ascension WoW. You'll probably fail because you're not as good as you think you are.
A recognition that yet more journalists would be killed, because I think it's well over 100
why
Palestinians
Israel hasn't
who you think are all Hamas members. But you know what? It's not your job to worry about the safety of international journalists. They've all been to many, many war zones.
That's
Whether it's
extremely
Clarissa
hypocritical
Warner, CNN,
because-
Jeremy
because
Bowen,
it accuses
I know a lot of
other
these people
journalists
myself.
of breath.
You let the journalists do their job, and you do yours,
by the way,
and the IDF can do
Pierce,
theirs.
they don't seem to have this concern about being blamed for slaughtering the children of Gaza. You know, like,
They don't have
it's
to
like,
take anything.
stop that. Right. It's every time you hear it's either, oh, this is propaganda, this is Hamas propaganda, those kids weren't intentionally killed, all this stuff. But look, like we said at the beginning, this is just, it doesn't meet the basic smell test, the basic human test. If you're telling me, as you said, Natasha, that Hamas has locked up all of the aid that's gotten in there, so who are you targeting when you don't let further aid in? It's the civilian population who's not getting it. Now you could sit here and say Israel isn't targeting them, meaning I blow up a building that I know has little children in it, but I'm claiming I'm targeting the bad guy. But you know that in effect your action is going to in effect destroy the civilian population. I'm sorry, this is a distinction without a difference. And I don't care about your appeal to international law. Look, I'm Lysander Spooner on this issue of international law. I think either international law allows what Israel is doing to Gaza, or it's been powerless to stop it. So either way, it has not been effective enough. By the way, it does seem like it's the latter, not the former, seeing as how there is, criminal warrants out for Netanyahu for committing war crimes. But regardless of that, the bottom line here is that Israel is doing this to the civilian population of Gaza, and nobody who's being honest doesn't believe that the only reason Israel won't let journalists in there is because they don't want the world to see what they're doing to these people. Period. That's the reason, and everybody, including you, knows it. The problem here is that you're not allowed to tell the truth. You're Israel's lawyer, and you got to defend them no matter what. Natasha, does Israel have nuclear weapons?
Sorry, I'm an independent
Does Israel have nuclear weapons?
the English bar.
Yes or no? Good
I'm
question.
not instructed.
Yes or no?
I'm
Yes
not
or no,
instructed.
Natasha? Do they have nuclear weapons?
Weapons, Natasha?
Why do you think I would know any better than you, Chris?
What's the name of your you do know the truth, and so you won't say it. But let me just say, it's disqualifying to this conversation. You're playing a different game than me and Pierce are. We're having a conversation about what's actually going on. You're a lawyer who's not allowed to incriminate your client, which is Israel. Because you know the answer the same way Pierce knows it, the same way I know it. Do they have nukes?
Let me be perfectly clear. I am not in the employ of anyone associated.
What's the name of your organisation?
UK Lawyers for Israel began as a voluntary association of lawyers looking for the proper application of law to Israel, Israelis, and combating anti-Semitism. It is truly remarkable. We are having a different conversation. This is a circus, and I am actually seeking to address practical questions, including the disgusting situation that we are now left with, where the international community has said that Palestinian civilians must uniquely be kept in a war zone, may not be permitted to leave. That is what I am hearing being advocated for consistently, so that they can be continued to be used not just as human shields by Hamas, but as human sacrifices, dragging this conflict out. The tragedy of this misinformation and this propaganda is not just that Jews are being gunned down and burnt in the street. It is also that Palestinian civilians are continuing to suffer as a result of this war, but also of Hamas suppression, repression, torture, and the stealing of aid, which has been well documented. The fact that people like the two of you will continue to put out this misinformation, to perpetuate this conflict, to perpetuate Palestinian suffering, is truly disgusting. What have I said that's false?
I didn't think anyone
Careful.
was more disingenuous than the UK ambassador. I gotta say, Natasha, you've got right up there. You've crossed that little bar, haven't you?
Indicate one aspect of what I have said that is incorrect, we will have this conversation. But so far, you are throwing out appallingly misconceived allegations, which are baseless.
Do you know what? Israel,
She couldn't answer the
I had
question.
Jonathan Richardson, who's a former IDF guy, obviously, and even he was able to admit a lot of what Israel's now doing is wrong. And it just shouldn't be happening the way it's happening. You blindly don't. I mean, I think that Hamas are blindly, ideologically to one side of this. They're a bunch of genocidal maniacs. I think people like Smotrich are genocidal maniacs. And I think anyone on the pro-Israeli side, particularly a lawyer, who can listen to what Smotrich said last week and not understand that he is actually promoting war crimes out of his very mouth.
We haven't discussed Smotrich, and I'm not particularly interested in what he has to say because it's.
Well, he's the finance minister of the Israeli government. He's one of the three most powerful people in the country.
He clearly doesn't have an input to the war cabinet's policy or how this campaign's been run.
Even you don't believe that if you say it.
Well, I wouldn't be saying it if I didn't believe it.
You don't think that Smotrich has much influence over the Israeli government?
Not on the conduct of
anything about the Israeli government?
Not on the conduct of this war. On the basis of. I'm sorry. I
Over policy. Therefore,
didn't interrupt
it
Mr.
doesn't
Smith.
matter what he said.
I didn't interrupt Mr. Smith. The fact of the matter is that the proof of the pudding is in the eating. Everything that the Israeli army.
I fell in love with being in the gym so much because it was a place where I could go to and just push aside and avoid feeling anything stressful or hard going on in my life. And I could just get in the gym, and I would always walk out of the gym feeling better than I walked in.
Goodness.
The Air Force and the Military Advocate General Corps, which is actually unique in the manner in which it
I'm out of range.
strikes and the military tactics that the IDF launched. In fact,
But-
when I was on the ground in Gaza, including
Nice.
with a very senior
Good
military
job,
official from the UK, Sir John McCall,
Skin
all of the
of
group remarked that
stone.
the procedures that Israel had
It's
put in
there.
place were unprecedented. That
Perfect.
it wasn't just adhering to international humanitarian law, the law of
Alright, we buy
conflict,
this and then we
but in
get
every
off.
respect was going far and above the requirements,
agreed.
including in taking precautions to prevent civilian casualties.
They've been so careful.
Oh, it looks so cool. I'm looking cool. Did you chug that protein shake?
Greetings.
I know you don't like to, but I'm telling you, that's we need more protein in our bodies.
30,000
It's too
And you used to love